What is up, my Honda? This is your boy, your Honda CarioCityGamer, and welcome back to Reaction Day. I did not ask you all to send videos this time because I did not expect I was going to be coming back to this soon. So, new viewers, welcome. Hit subscribe, turn on all notifications, and so we can get this video recommended. We are trying to get to 3K before the end of this year, so hoping and praying that we hit that goal. And anyway, welcome to the woman, which is created by Landmarks. I'm going on and saying I do not own any of these videos, so I hope they do not copyright me or tell me to take down these videos. Now let's sit back, relax, grab a snack. I ain't got no snacks right now, but you grab yourself a snack. I got myself some water. We about to react.
It was a late, moonless, snowy night. I heard the chilling cry of a bobcat as I arrived home from my parents' house, where we had just had Thanksgiving dinner in northern Michigan. Exhausted, I had finally made it to my bed when my pregnant girlfriend asked for nacho cheese munchies. Reluctantly, I laced up my boots and went to my car. Due to the cold, it took me a while to start the car, which only made me more irritated. But eventually I got it started. Then I arrived at the convenience store to retrieve my girlfriend's mandated snacks.
And I noticed from some of my videos when I be reacting, it lags, so I hope it doesn't do
out of the corner of my eye. What looked like a person stood near the dumpster, just out of the light. I stepped towards the figure, and she looked at me with a giant, sinister smile. Her face was so weathered, it looked like she had cracks all over her face. She was crouched down and appeared to be chewing on something. I looked to see what she was chewing on. To my surprise, it was a severed arm. It looked old, as if it had been rotting for weeks.
Protect your arms, people.
I saw her glance at something in her pocket. I could see the outline of what looked like a pocket knife. As soon as I looked back up, she quickly charged me. I pushed her away and then ran back to the convenience store. I burst through the door and frantically yelled towards the cashier to call the police as I turned to lock it. He asked me, "What's going on?" I scowled at him and said, "Please, just call the cops." I looked back outside and saw the woman had moved across the street and was still scrutinizing me as she maintained her malevolent grin. "Look, there's a girl out there who's trying to kill me." Looking over me, he replied, "I don't see anyone out there, sir." Those words shook me, even to this day. When the police reached the gas station, they began looking around for the woman while one of the officers asked me what had happened, and I told him the details of the encounter. One of the officers came back and said he couldn't find anything. I then took them back to where I first noticed her. We spent a few minutes intently searching, but there was no
she got away somehow.
even there.
Unless you're just
the
seeing
officer
ghosts.
cocked his head and looked at me as if I was deranged and asked me in a judgmental tone, "Are you feeling okay?" I was about to defend myself, and then I started to think. I am tired, and I have had a couple of drinks, so I just told him, "Yes, sir. Sorry for bothering you. I hope you have a nice night." And then I drove home. I got home at around 4 o'clock in the morning. My girlfriend greeted me with an angered but concerning tone of voice. She asked me,
"Where were you? Are you okay?"
So I told her everything that happened. Of course, she didn't believe me.
Oh boy.
I couldn't get to sleep that night. I sat in my bed questioning my sanity, wondering if it was all even real. Am I crazy? Maybe I'm just tired. But no, that can't be it. I saw it. But if I saw it, why was there no proof? Where did the arm go? Where did she go?
She disappeared. That's what happened.
Before I knew it, it was 7 in the morning, and I had to go to work.
Hopefully she doesn't come knocking at the door.
I threw on my jacket as I was about to head to the construction site, and I put my hand in my pocket and noticed that there was a hole in it. It wasn't there the other day. I thought, what if she caught my jacket as I ran? Which further proves my suspicion that she was real.
Dude, just be cautious.
I couldn't believe it. My mind completely went wild. until my girlfriend kissed me goodbye. I told my friends at work what had happened, and they didn't believe me either. They made jokes about it the entire day, but I had my bowling tournament that day, so that gave me something to look forward to. I got home and hung my vest and jacket up and rapidly put on my bowling shoes and got my bowling ball. My girlfriend looked at me with a pleasant smile and said,
When will you be back?
Probably around 11.
Don't be long.
Yeah, don't.
I won't. Don't worry.
You got someone watching you.
At around 10:30, the
Stop.
tournament had finally finished, and we had won. I was so thrilled I had forgotten about the woman. As we were leaving, I noticed something at the other end of the parking lot. It was that psychotic woman. We stared at each other for what felt like an eternity.
I be wanting to
She
like
slowly started
pause
moving
the video,
towards
but
me
I
while
don't want
waving her
to
knife in
lose
the
the
air and
recording.
making cuts. I quickly jumped into my car and turned it on. As I looked up, I saw she was standing in front of me.
That's so
staring at
creepy.
me. She slowly walked over to my window, and she said in a quiet, deep, and scratchy voice,
Little pig, let me in.
No!
I was frozen in fear, but I snapped back to reality when she banged on the roof of my car, screaming. I quickly slammed my foot on the accelerator and didn't let off it until I couldn't see her anymore. When I arrived home, I told my girlfriend what had happened. Like last time, she didn't believe me. I really thought I was insane, but I tried to forget about it and get some sleep. Later that night, I woke up and saw her in my room. All she said was,
Did you lock the doors?
over and over as she got closer. She then started shouting,
Let me in, let me in, let me in! Let me in!
Wake up!
Come on, Paul. Stop being difficult.
I was wondering how in the world my girlfriend hadn't heard this going on. The woman
She's a
was
ghost!
right next to me and held up a knife to me. That's when I fainted. I woke startled in my room, dripping with sweat. Then I remembered I don't have a girlfriend, nor a house, or a family.
Come on, Paul. Time for your morning meds. Let me in.
Llama arts. What have you been drinking to make such a creepy animation? I'm too black for this. This is known as Don't Go to School in the Middle of the Night. It's created by Wansee Entertainment. As always, we at least react to 3 of these horror videos, but I think I'm going to increase it to 4, so hopefully I got enough storage for it. Wansee Entertainment, what you got in store?
About 5 years ago, my friends and I were at the school, and we were joking about sneaking onto the roof after we noticed a ladder that was leading up to it. We all kept daring each other to do it, but no one actually said yes. Then someone dared me, so I said, sure, I'll do that. Meet me here tonight at 10 p.m.
Why at
Everyone
night?
seemed surprised, but in reality, I was hoping that the ladder would be gone by that night so I wouldn't have to do it. I didn't want to do that,
Why
actually.
at night?
After that night, it was about 9:45 p.m. And then, I snuck out my window and headed over to the school again. I crossed my fingers that the ladder wouldn't be there.
It's
But
there.
unfortunately, once I got there, all but one of my friends was already waiting, and the ladder was still there. One of my friends snickered and told me, "You have to stay there for at least 5 minutes as well." I then sighed and said, "Fine." I really didn't want to get caught and suspended, so I walked over slowly, hoping that something would happen to us. However, the place around us was so quiet.
So desolate.
I reached the ladder and stepped onto it. It wobbled a little bit at first because it wasn't attached to the building. So I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, then continued to climb. The higher I climbed, the more and more the ladder was unstable, which
That ladder
made me
looked like
worry.
it was like
But
1
I made
foot
it to
tall.
the top anyhow. I sat down on the roof and looked down to see my friends, but when I scanned the street, I couldn't see them at all. In confusion, I was about to shout out to find them, then I heard a loud bang, so I stood up and rushed to the edge of the roof. The ladder had fallen.
Uh-oh.
I looked up trying to find my friends and said, "Gee guys, this ain't funny. Where are y'all?" My voice echoed through the dark in an empty street.
You should never have.
The night was cold and I was getting really worried. The school wasn't that tall, but it was still a long way from the roof to the ground. I scanned the street
I would
one
rather
last
take a
time,
broken
hoping
arm
they would reveal
instead of staying on
themselves.
the roof.
Then I saw something. Those red eyes were staring at me about 100 feet from me. I froze.
We ain't seeing nothing this
What
in the
the heck
last
is that?
episode.
Showing its teeth, the thing slowly smiled, and the streetlight suddenly went out.
Oh no.
Everything was pitch black.
Oh no.
I wasn't sure if I was dreaming or not. Then the
Dude,
lights turned back on.
It's
and
time
I
to
could finally
call
see that creature
911.
hiding behind another
Hello,
lamppost.
help me please.
It was close to me. Whenever the lights went out again and were turned back on, it came much closer. When it finally reached the final lamppost, I was shaking so hard. I tried to walk backward, but then accidentally stumbled, almost falling from the roof. However, I managed to stop myself.
Ooh.
So I looked down, searching around everywhere. But the creature had disappeared. I thought maybe it's just a nightmare, but I was wrong. I could feel something was staring at me. I slowly turned my head, and there it was. That thing
Again,
was standing, towering over me.
911. I'm being
Creature
stalked
was
by
at
a
least 10 feet
creature.
tall,
Help me.
And it had bloodshot eyes
No,
and the most evil smile I've
If
ever
I see
seen.
that smile, I'm combing its head.
I tried to scream, but no noise came out. It growled at me and stepped
Dude,
forward.
just jump off the roof.
I guess I had no choice. I jumped off the roof, not realizing I was right next to the edge. When I fell off, I hit my head really hard against the ground. However, despite the pain, I jumped to my feet. I ran away from the building as fast as I could, glancing back at the roof to see if that thing was gone. Then I noticed that it was standing in front of a window in the school, still staring at me.
This is why you
I had
don't
to
go
stop
to school
turning
at
my
night.
head. I couldn't put those red eyes out of my mind during the time I was coming back home. When I finally made it back to my house, I ran inside. Of course, my parents yelled at me for being out late at night, but I wasn't really listening because I was so scared. So I just apologized and then ran up to my bed. I had to hide under my covers for the whole night, too afraid to sleep. But the most horrible thing
Dang.
was what happened the next day. The next morning, when I argued with my friends about the previous night, leaving me alone, they were all confused and claimed they never went there. Then, what were the messages from my friends that they were coming?
Somebody
and
hacked
who were
your
they that I
phone.
saw yesterday? I couldn't say anything. My name is Alan.
Okay, before we even get into this one, that was a good one, Wansee Entertainment. There's a second one by y'all, but seriously, I don't know if I need help or if you all need help. Now this
And
is a
this
girl.
happened a year
I met a
ago.
girl in the airport.
I was at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport and about to check in, going to Dubai. I was standing in the line to check in when I noticed that someone was staring at me. It was a girl.
Okay, that
She
is a
seemed
bit
like
creepy.
an ordinary girl at first, but then I noticed that her eyes were odd. They were open, very wide. She was smiling at me, but her smile was kind of annoying and crooked. I got creeped out, so
I would
after
get
I was
creeped out,
finished
too.
checking in, I quickly went through immigration and headed to the flight gates. Before going to the gates, I stopped at the restroom, and while I was urinating there, I could hear someone faintly whispering outside. I could tell that it was a girl's voice. When I finally walked outside, I encountered the same
Why
girl
are you
who I had
here?
met at the check-in line. She was just standing there. But then, I saw scissors in her pocket.
Get out of there.
I quickly pushed her, ran away, and hid from her for a while. 30 minutes later, I barely arrived at the
I
gate.
think that girl needs to be put in
And
some type of institution.
Guess who arrived at the gate? Right, the same girl was there again. She was literally stalking me the whole time. Right then, I was terrified. So when we started boarding, I made sure that I didn't make eye contact with her at all. Fortunately, my seat was apart from hers. So at least I felt a little relieved during the flight. But this story didn't end there.
Of course it didn't.
When I arrived in Dubai, I quickly got out of the airport and headed to the currency exchange counter. While I was exchanging my money, I looked around several times, but there was no sign of her anywhere. I quickly grabbed my money, but the moment I turned around, my heart dropped. The same girl whom I'd met at the airport was there. She was staring at me, holding scissors. But this time,
Why?
she started twitching bizarrely. Her smile became bigger and even scarier.
This ain't no yandere.
She
This
was
is a
walking
complete
toward
psychopath.
me, closer and closer. It was almost 2 a.m. and there was nobody else around in that area. I had no choice but to run, so I dashed quickly away and started searching for a taxi to get to the train station. Just then, I realized that the girl started to speed up to chase after me.
God.
Luckily, I narrowly found one taxi, and when I got in, it was a sigh of relief. When I glanced out the back window, the girl was standing there and was staring straight into my eyes. After 2 weeks, I went back to Manila. Of course, I didn't see her anymore after that night. However, the memory of that girl has been haunting me to this day. I haven't been able to forget her face.
Why? Wansee Entertainment. That girl needs to be put in some institution.
This is Firehouse Subs, where we're still
We had
making
some
the
of
hot
the,
party,
these people got the
mouth-watering
best subs.
Order online
I'm
at
honestly
Firehouse.
speaking. Okay, so I had to take a step back right quick. Grab a quick snack. The next video we're reacting to is The Dead Are Riding, okay? And it's created by SNARLED. We reacted to these guys last time, so huge shout out to y'all. Please do not copyright me. Like, I'm not doing this for your subscribers. I'm just doing it for fun. Here we go.
Markia, want to hear something scary? The dead are riding. Love can conquer anything, even war. And two lovers who only wish to find a way to each other find themselves on a journey they thought they'd never take. This is a Nordic noir, a horror story of love.
It's gonna be kind of creepy, isn't it?
One cold evening, Agatha was walking home along a gravel road covered in snow and surrounded by trees. The moon was shining down, and a lamp gave her just enough light to see the road ahead. It was freezing cold, and she couldn't wait until she could get back to the warmth of her home. It had been a year since her fiancé Eric had gone missing in the war. His father had given up hope, and they came to terms that Eric was dead, and they'd never recover his body like so many other young men lost. On many nights like this one, walking from work to her abode, she felt as if a shadow was behind her, following in a horse-drawn sled. She'd often heard galloping and turned, hoping to see Eric, only to find no one there. She didn't want to give up, but days turned to weeks, and weeks into months, and soon enough, it was winter. The war waged on, and she stopped receiving letters. So she moved on. But under the blood moon of this night, a year to the date that she'd said yes to his proposal, something felt different in the air. The galloping seemed to be getting closer, the sled just within view. Was it really him? She remembered their promise in the church graveyard where his mother had been buried. He'd sworn that when he got back, they'd be married and he would take her home. No matter what, he'd come for her. Nothing could stop his love for her, not even death. As she listened to the snow crunching under her feet, she became aware of another sound. A loud shushing and crunching that was getting closer. Soon, a sled came to view behind her. There was a black horse dragging the sled along, and she could see that there was only one person in the sled. When the sled stopped next to her, she realized the driver was her fiancé. Agatha greeted him and climbed up on the sled. She was overjoyed that he had come home. Eric was unusually quiet, but she didn't mind. She was just glad to have him back. For a long time, there was no sound except for the snow crunching under the hooves of the horse and the skids of the sled, until a young man finally broke the silence.
The moon is shining, the dead are riding. Are you not afraid, my love?
He said. When we're together, what do I have to fear? Agatha responded as she hugged him. The moon on his face made his features seem gaunt and skeletal as they passed lanterns. Was it the light playing tricks on her? All was silent once again. She thought the question was odd, and her fiancé was unusually quiet. The dark night was enough to fill anyone with dread, and she figured that he was just scared. Shell-shocked, they called it, from the war. But there was an emptiness in his gaze. He looked only ahead.
Do you remember your promise?
He said. Agatha wondered why he wouldn't turn to her when speaking to her. Eric, is it really you? She asked, getting a little unnerved. All her attempts at conversation were met with no reply besides his strange, trance-like response.
I told you not even death could stop me from coming back to you.
Agatha was starting to get afraid, but she pushed it aside. Where are we going? She asked. The young man did not react to her words, only looking forward at the road ahead. She could only barely see her surroundings in the silver glow of the moon. From beside her, she heard her fiancé muttering,
As am I now, so you will be.
No!
Tired of his cryptic words, Agatha snapped. What do you mean? You can't just show up and not answer my questions, or tell me where you've been, or where you're taking me. Suddenly, the sled came to a stop. She looked around, trying to figure out her surroundings.
A church, to be married,
he said as her eyes adjusted, realizing where she was. She recognized the place as the town's churchyard, the place they had made their pact. As he walked off, she followed. Her thoughts, however, were interrupted by her realization that his military coat was ripped, seeping red all over his back and dripping blood on the snow. Suddenly, he stopped in front of an open grave and took her hand under the moonlight. She looked down. His fingers were bones.
I have kept my promise. I have come to take you home, my love.
Eric said as he finally turned fully towards her.
And you will keep yours.
The moonlight revealed that half of his face was ripped away, exposing his bloody skull. He stalked towards the dark hole in the ground, gripping her hand tightly. Agatha screamed as he pulled her close. It was a kiss of death. His touch ice cold as a shock ran through her system. Her veins froze all throughout her body and face, turning her lips blue as she took her last breath. Carrying his love, the dead man dropped into the grave. In the morning, Agatha was found dead. She was buried in the snow in the open pit her fiancé's family had made for Eric's body in the family plot. His father had received his body in confirmation of his death the evening before. He was going to tell Agatha the news in the morning, but Eric's body had gone missing overnight. To everyone's shock, they found them together in the snow. Their bodies lay to rest. Finally, home.
Well, that was dark.
Have you seen our new stickers? Our official Something Scary collection is growing. 2 new monsters.
You can't just end the video like that and then expect me not to react.
Below. Don't forget.
That was dark. That was dark. I think I'm gonna take a step back away from horror videos for now. And I was just about to come with a horror game tomorrow, but I can't do this. If y'all did enjoy, go and show that like button some family love. We are on the journey to 3K, so go and hit subscribe, turn notifications, all notifications, so you won't miss any more extraordinary content just like this. Snarled, what is wrong with you? Oh boy. Yeah, I'm signing out. Remember, we as a family make the magic. I love y'all. In peace.